Hello, everybody. Good afternoon.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing well.
Hi
Doing well.
everyone.
Hey, Arno, how's it going?
Doing great. How
Is it
about you
Arno
guys?
or Aaron?
I don't know, yeah.
Arno. Okay, sorry about that. Welcome. Hey, Dow.
No worries.
Hey, good morning, guys. Give me 1 minute. I'm gonna get some strong coffee. Second cup of the day.
Nice midday coffee. Yeah, thanks everybody for coming by today. Arno, before we get into the details, hopefully it's daytime where you are. Are you a coffee drinker? Something we do like to ask all our guests here. And if you are, what kind of coffee do you drink?
I was going to say it's a bit late for me here to have my coffee. It's like 6 p.m., so usually I don't drink after 4 p.m., like to make sure I have a good sleep. But I do definitely drink coffee. Like it's quite my first go-to drink. Like when I wake up, first I have a glass of water, and then I can start with my coffee, basically.
Water definitely always first before coffee. What's up, Dal?
I just came back from a trip on the coast of Colombia, on the Pacific. There's a city called Santa Marta, and it feels like you're back in your Berkeley, like very hippie vibe. And we were sitting at a breakfast place, and they had a bulletproof coffee. Haven't had one of those in years, but it's they put butter and then some kind of oil. It can be coconut oil or MCT oil, and it tastes delicious, and it wakes you up really smoothly throughout the day. So, recommend it. Anybody who doesn't know about it, bulletproof coffee, delicious.
Yeah, I recommend it as well. It's a great way to start your
Yeah,
morning. But take care of the calories though, because it can be
but I
quite
like your
heavy.
point, Arno. Water first before coffee. That's how we should always start off the day. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming by. Today we have Arno Bauer, Senior Solutions Architect from BNB Chain, and we're here to talk about opBNB. So if you haven't heard about it, testnet just launched on June 19th, and we're looking forward to going on a deep dive and learning more about that. I'll be pinning up some information to the top as well. And we got Dow here helping us out, and looking forward to learn more. But yeah, so let's get started because obviously the announcement to layer 2 solution, everybody already knows BNB for being faster and cheaper than some of the other main L1 chains. So why the L2 solutions? Where are the limitations that we saw in the L1s that made BNB chain go this route and develop a layer 2 solution?
Right, exactly. I mean, first of all, like big shout out as well to OP Stack team, which like made a huge like improvement in like this kind of technology, which helped us as well to deliver opBNB. I mean, as we all know, like L1s, they are all facing challenges, especially when we have high activity, like the fee increase, lower throughput, like when you sign a transaction, usually it's not getting signed or validated on time due to the high activity. So even on BSC as well, we're facing such kind of high activity. Like we are able to handle quite strong, let's say, activity, but nevertheless, like when we have like big gaming or let's say socialized application which have like big event, it's always a bit complicated as well. So we did quite some intensive research as well, trying to look like how we can enhance our scalability. And we basically concluded that OpenStack was kind of the main choice to go ahead. Like we saw that worldwide it was widely used outside as well. So this is one of the reasons why we based opBNB on the OpenStack, which is really helping on, let's say, the network performance scalability by essentially, as you might know, like taking some of the, let's say, computational load of the main chain and putting it on a layer 2 and just basically periodically committing some state back to the layer 1, which is the BSC network. So this is one of the approach to basically drastically increase the overall transactions throughput and lowering our transaction fees as well.
Love it. Yeah, you're right. Like we're seeing this across the whole space that people are looking to layer 2s, and if we're thinking about onboarding, millions and billions of users, we have to be prepared for it. So, do you want to maybe give us and then I'll throw it over to Dow afterwards. Do you want to maybe give us just a high level overview? What is opBNB chain?
Sure. So opBNB like is a layer 2, as I said, which is based on OP Stack. basically to enhance the BSC layer 1. We made a few, let's say, improvement or enhancements inside OP stack to basically be able to achieve higher throughput. So one of the main improvement has been, for example, the parallelization of some activity to be able to handle more transaction, as well as you know, the BSC, the layer 1 already has a high gas limit of, if I'm correct, 140 million right now. So on opBNB by default, it's going to be 100 million, which is, I think, 3.3 times much higher than OP stack. So it's something that is helping us as well to increase the number of transactions that we can compile into one rollup. And as one, we had a key, let's say, innovative research as well inside the BSC layer 1, which was, let's say, the data access or the cache layers as we were, like, let's say, managing. So we brought some kind of innovation that we had in the layer 1 back to OP stack as well. That's what helps the opBNB to reach even a higher TPS and a lower transaction throughput. Such kind of changes, such as, for example, let's say, the access to some caching layers. So for people to make it a bit easy to understand, like when you need to access some specific data, sometimes like the processor is basically caching those data. So the way to access it is something that has been optimized based on our, like, innovation, for example. So all of those innovation are currently, let's say, being brought initially to opBNB, but we hope that in the future it can be, let's say, brought back to the community as well for overall, like, better experience for the whole layer 2 community.
Interesting stuff. Dal, any questions or comments? I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this conversation. I love the layer two conversation. Obviously, Ethereum has had many, right? We have the obviously optimism, we have Arbitrum, and more recently the ZKs, and so it's been a really interesting conversation. In the context, at least coming from the Ethereum point of view, is that there's the blockchain trilemma, right? Blockchain is trying to do three things: decentralization, security, and scalability. And usually you can only do two out of three things, right? And so traditionally from Bitcoin and from Ethereum, we've heard, okay, well, layer one, we're going to have decentralization and security. And then we need like other layers, at least a layer two, to do scalability, right? And so I think I can't even think of another ecosystem that for who the layer two is making as big of a deal. I know the other chains, like I think Cardano has a layer two and others, but it seems that Binance has kind of taken the narrative by storm, and everybody's paying attention to this new layer two. But I would love to know, like, I'm sure there was a lot of considerations. Were there other layer twos stack that you guys were considering? Did you consider going the route of ZKs or talking to guys Arbitrum? Like, what was that process of making the decision, and why did Optimism end up being the winner?
Yeah, it's a really good, like, intro that you give as well to, like, let's say, the trilemma as we keep talking. I mean, I think a lot of people forget as well that, like, blockchain is quite, or decentralized network is really old, but it took time to find the right recipe in order to see it or to show the world that it's something that is usable. So, like, Bitcoin first, and then we had, like, Ethereum, then we have BNC and, like, other EVM chain right now. So definitely one of the main aim of BSC is to have provide a strong infrastructure, which is really helping for, like, profit, like gaming or socialized application, like due to our high activity. So when we are looking into layer 2 as well, so we're looking at other solutions. The main reason as well for OP was, I believe, it's compatible with EVM directly, as you know. So it's going to make it's going to make a huge impact for people who want to easily migrate over to a layer 2 from a layer 1 to a layer 2, or cross chain as well from like different EVM back to BSC or to some others as well, because we believe that this is overall within the broader, let's say, community. There's a lot of work that is happening on this stack, so we believe that it was the right timing as well to look into it and see how we can help and how we can provide innovation within this stack as well, that first can be tested out and leveraged within the BS ecosystem, and then we can see from there on, like, which, let's see, I don't believe that one stack is going to win over the other. I think there's a place for every type of use cases, but right now we believe that this was the main choice to do.
Yeah, I love this because I think personally, the longer you spend time in that ecosystem, the developers, the team in general have that experience of it, comparing different layer twos and thinking about data availability. the better that ecosystem will be long term. I think that the chains are not looking into it right now. Will be lagging the chains like Ethereum and Binance or BSC they're looking into right now. But just curious, like what would that look like? Would it be a similar experience as moving from Ethereum to Optimism? You just go on MetaMask and you have the same address. Like, would it be a different user experience or more or less similar than the one that we have for Layer 2s for Ethereum?
No, it's probably going to be the similar experience, definitely. So we have currently we have one bridge that is helping to bridge the native token, like the testnet, which is the tBNB. We're going to enable as well more ERC20 type token inside this bridge. And then, of course, community builders are going to build the same tools, but definitely on MetaMask, it's going to be kind of the same experience. Or if you use any other wallet, it's going to be the same, like seamless experience where, of course, you can share the same address, which is something that is quite good as for people to be able to easily utilize the same asset on different chains, especially when we are going to discuss, I believe in the near future as well. Like right now, we are discussing about bridging like asset from one L1 to the other, but what about bridging an asset from one L2 to the other L2 somewhere else? I think that's going to be quite interesting in the near future, where people might not even go through L1 anymore to bridge asset, but directly from one L2 to the other.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I have one more question before I give it back to Jess. Is kind of seeing a similar move from Coinbase when it comes to this new project, Build on Base, right? It seems like they're looking towards decentralizing themselves. At least that's what they're claiming to do, and they're putting a part of their tech team to really deep dive into that idea that in a few years from now, let's say 4 or 5 years from now, Coinbase is maybe not fully decentralized, but a big part of its activity is decentralized. And so it seems, right, like looking at this announcement, that Binance is also going that route of saying, okay, well, we have BSC, we have the Binance Exchange, and for some reason, I'm sure we've read in the news like things with regulators, but maybe from just the general reason of seeing where the space is moving, it seems like there's also the same desire or roadmap to decentralize the Binance ecosystem. Is that a fair assessment? Is there like maybe a private roadmap that you can share some tidbits with us that there is a hint or actual real public announcement to decentralize Binance for the long term?
Well, first of all, so Binance and BNB Chain are quite separate. So I know for a lot of people, it seems like it's the same entity, but it's not actually. So we are quite separate. We are a different entity, and we are working, let's say, on providing infrastructure for Web3 within BNB Chain. So that's the first point. So I don't exactly know the roadmap for Binance itself. Regarding BSC, I mean, definitely like decentralization is a key aspect as well. As we know, it's not the end goal or the end mean. We believe that there is, let's say, time for everything. So right now, we believe that the time it's really about innovation and providing the best infrastructure for builders to be able to have a scalable, robust, and stable environment. So this is where we are heavily focusing on towards our innovation right now.
Great questions, and thanks, Arno. Yeah, I think it's an interesting concept, about OP stack and what you mentioned, Arno. Like maybe there's a future where everybody's just, the chains are being interoperable between L2s, and the fact that OP stack was chosen, which we're already seeing other big projects building on that. I think it's a great move for interoperability if you believe in a multi-chain future, which I feel like a lot of us here do. But yeah, great points and great questions. So tell us a little bit more about what opBNB chain will bring as far as performance, scalability, cost efficiency. And I know Dal asked a little bit about the user experience. Maybe you could chime in on what the developer experience will look like and building on opBNB chain.
Right, definitely. So in terms of, let's say, some measurements or some key data points, if I could say so. So we expect to have more than 4,000 TPS, which is something that's quite interesting. And especially regarding the transaction cost, we expect to have 0.005 cents, which is something that is quite drastically different from what we can see in current L1 or even some L2. One of the main, let's say, advantages of opBNB is since we have a high gas limit, which means let's say 100 million in terms of gas limits, we are able to have more or less stable pricing. which means that, for example, if you use currently like L2s on ETH, like Arbitrum or Optimism, they all have fluctuation in terms of transaction cost as well. So if they have a high activity, the cost is still going to be high as well. So this is something that opBNB is probably going to tackle. It's like even with a high activity, the price will be quite stable. So we can expect to have, let's say, a lot of projects which can easily sponsorize transaction fees as well. Because we can see more and more or less on the BS ecosystem, like some projects which are basically sponsorizing transaction on behalf of user. So this is something that can drastically, let's say, help them when they are building their business cases as well. In terms of tooling or let's say developments to be able to deliver or build on top of opBNB. So it's going to be exactly the same as if you, for example, want to deploy a contract on the layer 1. There is not much changes to it, basically. Just like need to change a few RPC connector, but for developers, that's going to be quite easy to handle, I believe. We're going to release as well a few tutorial on how to migrate your app to make it, let's say, easy for people who want to learn about it. But I believe that for expert or advanced Solidity developer, I think it's going to be quite easy for them.
And will there be a way for existing projects that are already built on BSC to transition if they to move over to opBNB chain if they wanted to?
So I think I lost you a bit, but I think I got your question. Definitely. So we are going to look at building bridges as well, probably like either through the community or through ourselves as well, which can easily like help for you to easily migrate your token from like the L1 to the L2, which is going to be quite useful if there is, let's say, or once there is a DEX, which is going to be released on opBNB as well from the community. I believe the trading are going to be quite active there. Because as you know as well, like on L2s, usually the MEV vector is a bit less a risk. So usually people like to trade on L2 as well, since they are, let's say, more protected against sandwich attack or front running.
Great point. And I just wanted to add something before I throw it over to Dal that we missed, that the native, the BNB is the native token. There is no separate token. I've seen some false, airdrop threads, no separate token. BNB is the native token for opBNB chain. So wanted to make that clear. Go ahead, Dal.
Yeah, I love this question about I'll go for it.
Yeah, exactly. So there is no like airdrop which is planned. I mean, BNB is such a strong token and with a good utility. I think we do need to utilize this token, which is quite good for L2 as well, or even for BNB Greenfield, which will be, which is currently in testnet as well. So thanks for pointing it out to make sure that people are not clicking on some link and unfortunately it might affect their, let's say, computer security.
Yeah, I love that question about developer experience because you have a rich ecosystem already, right? If I look at on DeFi Llama, for example, I think second to Tron, right? BSC has the most amount of daily active user. Rotates between 800 to a million active users. Tron somehow got 2 million. I don't know who, I don't know how, but Tron is the most active chain. But amongst that activity, right, there's a lot of really cool things. The Dexes, PancakeSwap, Athena. So I'd love to hear. I don't know if you can share some of this conversation, but was there like a process to talk to them before you guys decided to go that route? And if not, maybe after, was there any feedback from those projects within your ecosystem, but also potentially outside your ecosystem that are now more interested or were already looking for a solution, and maybe that's why you guys moved that direction? I'd love to hear kind of feedback from your partners in your ecosystem.
No, it's an amazing question because that's definitely what was the main driver as well of opBNB was feedback that we received from the community, especially from Brick project about how they would like to have a better way to handle the user base that they have and provide a better, let's say, service as well for their own user, transaction fee, or be able to provide, let's say, more on-chain activity, but maybe they were not able to do it so due to the, let's say, cost that was inherent in of an L1. So definitely, like we had a lot of discussion with different projects, and a few of them like started working as well on the opBNB testnets before it was like released officially, because it is important that we bring them into loop when we are bringing such kind of innovation to ensure that they are aware of it and that they are helping us as well on shaping what we want to deliver. Because this is the main key driver of the testnet as well, is to ensure that builders, developer, big project are able to give us feedback and test it out to make sure that it is fulfilling their requirement and how they would like type of tools that they would like to have, the type of SDK, the type of, let's say, graph or subgraph that they would like to have, or indexer. So it's really important that we work hands-on with those projects to ensure that they can smoothly migrate and utilize such kind of new feature as well.
Yeah, that's exciting, man. I've been following BSC, and I know maybe not necessarily BSC directly, but Binance has been in talk with countries like Brazil and even Colombia to provide fintech services. And so I think the ability to reduce those fees dramatically, so that people don't necessarily have to think about them, could probably like enable further use cases that would make sense for emerging nations, where it makes a big difference, to be able to not have to pay, let's say, 8 cents, but maybe pay, sub pennies, right? So, yeah, looks pretty exciting. So, looking forward to it.
It does make a huge difference for a lot of people at the end. Like even a 10 or 20 or 50% reduction in fee can drastically change the user experience of most of the user actually.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great question, Dal. As you guys look to, onboard more applications to the ecosystem, what kind of applications do you think will thrive, or is it the ideal app you would think that to take advantage of this technology? What kind of apps are you seeing are interested? Is it more gaming related, DeFi related? Like, what kind of applications do you think could have an advantage by using opBNB?
I feel like we had a lot of different type of app who reached out to us to learn more about the opBNB as well. So I don't think that there's going to be one key use case which is going to benefit it. I think it's like a bit of everything. As long as like the developer is able to fully utilize this technology, like it's going to be for every type of use cases. So that's what's the beauty of the OP stack as well, is to be fully EVM compatible, which is going to be quite interesting for all type of use cases. Not only the one we currently have, but maybe new ones as well, or mostly new ones maybe as well, which might require like really low transaction cost, which was like for a lot of people, maybe they were not able to deploy on an N1 due to the, let's say, drastic cost of deploying specific use cases. But right now they potentially might rethink their strategy and build new use cases as well.
Great point. And I know Dow touched upon this earlier when we talk about, the blockchain trilemma. So obviously opBNB chain is going to bring, it's going to bring more scalability and more speed. But what about the security? Can we talk a little bit about the security and how that plays in with the bridging and so forth? That would be great to hear more about that.
Definitely, it's a good question. I mean, security is one of the main key aspects that we are trying to bring, and we worked always on the BSC network as well. So we have, for example, this Avenger DAO initiative, or where we can follow on Twitter as well, or you can follow our partner Hashdit, which is frequently, let's say, pushing alerts as well when they are seeing something that is not nice to see on chain. For example, if there is some rug pull or some specific hack happening, like we have some security model as well to make sure that the community is aware quite fast. Regarding opBNB, like we are in rating of the OP stack security by default, so which is already quite battle tested by the overall, let's say, Ethereum community and outside as well. So regarding the bridges as well, we're going to look heavily in like on what has been delivered already, what was the main blocking point, and we ensure that we are going to utilize the same, let's say, mechanism to keep the same security as it has already been battle tested outside the BSC ecosystem.
Awesome. I'll throw it over to Dow to see if he has any questions, and then we have a couple other speakers up here as well.
Not a question, but just I like what Arno was saying, that it's true. Like when I think about Binance, I kind of think, oh, it's one entity, right? Binance and then BSC. But yeah, thinking about it, it's already quite two different entities with quite different roadmaps and quite different vision for the crypto ecosystem. So it's just good to hear that and to see it reaffirm in that vision to add this layer two.
Yeah, love that. Forrest, welcome. Good morning. Did you have a question or a comment?
Hey, yeah, thank you so much for letting me up, Jess. It's great to hear your voice and hear you're still going at it strong. You know,
Been a long
we've
time, yes.
connected. Yeah, it's been a long time indeed. But obviously, I'm building here on BNB Chain with Moon Pets and also our native marketplace, Bit5. And So we're super, super excited. We've been talking a lot about it in the community about opBNB. It's been really, really wonderful to hear you guys talk about it. One thing I did maybe miss, I'm not 100% sure, so please excuse me if I did, but I think this layer 2 has a lot of potential when it comes to gaming, right? There's a lot of potential there. Obviously, on-chain games require usually a lot of transactions, and those fees could add up very quickly. I'm curious if there's any projects that are lined up to be built on opBNB, where we should be looking to keep up with that, or best ways to stay in the loop.
I think the best way I believe to stay in the loop is probably to follow like our main Twitter account, because we're definitely going to as well like show like if any project is currently like actively implementing it or showcasing it, we're going to as well like show it to the community as well to make sure that everyone is aware, okay, that those developments are happening, and maybe we should as well to have a cross discussion around the community to make sure that everyone is helping each other in building better and faster. Focusing as well on joining our Discord, where we can like see like people already starting asking questions, where like we are helping each other as well to see how we can speed up the development and delivery process of some specific dApps, and as well as a forum, which can be a good resource location as well. But for developers, definitely like for that builder, I would say like feel free to go to our Discord to make sure that you have the high support and that you can discuss with other builders as well in how to potentially tackle some specific issue you might encounter.
That's great, thank you. And I see BNB Chain down there giving the wave and the hearts. I'm curious, do you guys have any projects lined up, or is it just like super fresh? You dropped this amazing bombshell on the community, and now builders are coming flocking. What's anything in the pipeline? A little alpha?
Both. So we've been working already with a few projects like beforehand, before the launch date. We're not going to, of course, release their name. I'm going to let them decide when they're ready to make any announcement on it.
If you
But good
if
try.
you do look for us, and I'll pin them up on BNB Chain's Twitter page, there's a couple of projects that have already launched on testnet, and they actually tweeted that if you launch on testnet, BNB Chain will give you a shout out on their Twitter page. So look at that. Because so I'll post those on the top, but it does look like there's some projects already that have deployed on testnet. Did you have any other questions or comments? Thanks for coming up, and good luck. Looking forward to seeing your project on opBNB.
Yeah, definitely. We have lots of plans for gaming specifically that we're curious to explore. So when this dropped, yeah, it made a lot of sense. So thank you.
Thank you.
Lando, welcome. I see you have your hand up. Did you have a question or comment?
Hi. Thanks for having me. I did have a comment and two questions. A short comment. Yeah, I think it was a long time in the waiting. I mean, regarding this layer 2, we have a project based on BSC chain, and I mean, I was thinking, why is no information coming out on from Binance side regarding a layer 2? I know the BSC chain is quite cheap. It's around 4 to 5 cents, and it's relatively cheaper than all the other EVMs, layer 1s. But I mean, with all this development happening, it was quite strange that there was nothing coming out of Binance. So with this news this week, it's really very big, and we're excited because we see the cost savings already, and the 1 second block time. My first question is is there a mention of the time frame for a mainnet launch, or did I miss that?
There were no mention yet of time frame for mainnet launch. Just if I just can go back to what you just said during like your intro as well. Definitely like made sense for a lot of community members to try to be impatient about maybe layer 2 as well on BSC. Completely understandable. We wanted to make sure that we provide, let's say, the best approach as well, not by just bringing the OP stack just like that, but by really bringing innovation into it as well. So it took a lot of time to walk into really understanding it, seeing what are the possibility for us to provide let's say, enhancement as well to the code to make sure that we can have a better innovation within our ecosystem as well by providing some key innovation in the OP stack to be able to deliver the opBNB, and hopefully those innovations will be used in the overall ecosystem as well. So it's never too late for sure. And as you mentioned, we do have like low fee as well currently on our layer one. So maybe it was not as urgent as other layer one, but it was definitely needed as well. And that's one of the reasons as well. And we are quite happy to see as well the enthusiasm within the community, because we can feel that like a lot of people were probably waiting for, and maybe we could have prioritized it a bit better.
Yeah, I mean it is cheap. I mean, relatively speaking, but now with a lot of the layer twos, like a lot of the NFTs in gaming, I mean, even at 3 cents, 3 4 cents USD for a transaction, it's still quite expensive for a lot of projects. And when projects are able now to, I mean, on the EVM side, yes, it was competitive, and that's why it was able to get such a large user base from Ethereum and the others. But um, what I've noticed is with the shift to the Lightning Network fees, which are still, I've calculated, about twice as cheap as opBNB fees, and they're also bringing on board DeFi and NFTs and ordinals and just basic gaming and stuff. So before, uh, like BSC had the best fee structure set up, but and it will have it with opBNB, but compared to like the Bitcoin ecosystem and what they're building, it's still about 2 times more expensive, relatively speaking, compared to Lightning fees. And with Lightning, you'll be able to do all the things you're able to do with opBNB. So is there plans to even reduce the fees even more? I know there was dank proto sharding was mentioned. I know there's some plans. Is there plans to even crush the fees down even more in the future? I mean, not now, but in the future.
Good question. I mean, definitely, like, it's really hard to compare with the Lightning Network on top of Bitcoin, which is really like a few pennies or even less, or free for some cases as well, or the RGB layer, which is building as well over there. Since it's a different technology, it is a different cost as well. But as you mentioned, like, is there any plan to lower transaction fee even lower? We don't know yet. Hopefully, we'll be able to, because that's our aim as well. I believe it will depend as well on the overall activity on the network. Because as you know, like for the governance and for BSC to work as well, and for validator to be rewarded, there is no, let's say, block reward as we can have in other blockchains. So all the reward is based on the transaction fees. So from an economical point of view, we do need to as well make sure that the network can be secured. So that's why we have as well a certain cost on the layer one. But for opBNB or layer two to be able to function as well, as you know, there is some specific roll up to the layer one afterwards. So, but someone need to pay this roll up as well. So that's why there is a certain fee on the L2 as well that need to be matched with the cost of rolling back to the L1. But hopefully, if we're able to provide even a better optimization by providing more TPS on top of opBNB, then it might even, as you say, crush further the transaction cost. So hopefully, we'll see even more innovation on more optimization to push the capacity even higher, which will in result like lower even more the cost.
Uh, yes, I wasn't really saying it as a bad thing, because I know that
Sure,
I
sure.
know
I know,
that
I know.
based on the demand, like block demand, it is not, because 4,000 transactions a second roughly is quite a lot, and that's even past Hyperledger, which was like benchmarked around 3,000, and that was one of the strengths of like the permission blockchains, that they can, the TPS is quite high, and but now basically BNB basically blew past a lot of the permission chain. So a lot of even the permission chained use cases can be done on opBNB. Um, uh, but if the blocks are not fully occupied, then I heard that the fees might be even lower. It might be lower than the average that was mentioned.
Yeah, great points and great question, Lando. Yeah, we always want cheaper, but yeah, I think they just rolled out testnet. Let's give them a chance to go on mainnet, and then we can ask when, because that is our favorite word in crypto. Go ahead, Arno. I saw you on mute.
No, I mean, it's definitely like a good topic of discussion, those like transaction fees, because it's definitely like if we want to reach the 1 billion plus user, we do need to be able to tackle this kind of topics as well. So hopefully we'll be able to see more innovation coming in within a few months down the line to be able to tackle even further this kind of topic.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. And when we talk about, you talked a little bit earlier about why you guys chose the OP stack. And how does interoperability play into having chosen OP stack? And how could that benefit interoperability between chains in the future? Anything else you want to go deeper into on that topic?
I mean, we believe it's always like better for the community as well. Like if everyone is, or if most of the people are working, let's say, on the same technology to bring even more optimization, instead of, for example, building your own solution for your own network, which is not necessarily helping the overall community. So by utilizing a stack which is already widely used and open source, we can as well like trying to bring more innovation towards it. But on top of that, like all the tools that are already existing outside can directly be leveraged by opBNB as well. It's kind of like bridges which are already happening on ETH between Ethereum and Optimism can easily be brought back to BSC, for example. So it's going to give a lot of potential for project outside to migrate over and like to utilize and to build even further their tech, as they might have more users, so more potential as well for their own project and being more sustainable as well.
And will the BNB Chain team be contributing to the open source for OP Stack?
So we're going to see how we can push some PR as well to hopefully see how they can utilize as well. But our source code is open as well, and we are going to see how we can potentially bring some of the innovation back to them, of course.
Love that, love that. Dow, any questions or comments from your side?
Yes. So it's kind of interesting to see how optimism is being adopted, right? Because they originally came up with their own layer 2, and then Coinbase came up with this build on base, and then now we have Binance. So it feels like their vision for super chain is coming alive. I'd love to hear your take on that. Like, are you within that ecosystem of super chain, or are you using optimism but not necessarily uh, embracing that vision? Or what's your take on the overall vision of optimism created as the super chain ecosystem?
On the personal side, I think it's a great vision. I'm completely like looking forward to see what they're able to deliver. On the opBNB side, I think it's a bit too early to say now what will be the end game or the end goal. But definitely, like on the personal side, I do believe that what they're building is quite interesting to tackle the scalability issue that we are having in this industry. And I'm really looking forward to see more people joining as well their stack and potentially like helping them on achieving what they would like to achieve.
Okay, and on a personal note, are you team modular, or you still see some use cases for monolithic blockchain, where chains were not looking to go the route of layer 2 or data availability that, let's say, Solana or other chains of that nature? Can you see a future where both exist, or do you think more or less eventually most chain will move towards a more modular architecture?
We're such a big community that I believe that there's a place for a bit everyone and every use cases. After on a personal side, I think it's hard to know like where it's going to end up. I think we do need to look into every possibility before we can really make a final judgment. But it's definitely going to be interesting and that's why I love this job as well and this space. Like there's always like innovation happening every day and new proposal, new ideas, and it's always hard to know beforehand which one is going to win. At the end, there's like a lot of winners and only a few losers. But even then, we still need to pursue and try to see if it's possible or not, because that's where we need to head towards, like trying, and we'll be able to find out what is the best solution after a few iterations.
Okay, and last personal question. I'm hearing either a French or a German accent.
Living exactly near the border between both countries.
Oh, okay. So I was in the area, right? I
Wow,
was
what a
hearing it. I wasn't
call.
sure 100%, but
Exactly. exactly at the border. So basically, I'm exactly looking at the border.
Dow is like an accent expert right now. That was a great guess. Lando, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, Arno, just had a quick question. What was the reasoning against choosing like the ZK EVM option?
I don't think it was against or for. I think it was maybe more as well like that's a good question. I think it's maybe like the OP stack has, let's say, more history, I would say, potentially right now, and more use cases as well, and more battle tested. So I think that's one of the reasons why, because we want to make sure that we are able to provide something in a timely manner to the community to be able to utilize a solution to have like higher throughput and a lower transaction fee, especially for our community, because this is quite important to be able to deliver it in a timely manner.
Yep, OP Stack has been battle tested. Great question, Lando. And I know Arno touched on that earlier as well. You can play back. Nick, I see you're up here. Did you have a question or comment before we wrap up?
You know what? My questions were already asked by the previous couple guys, about the super chain vision and interoperability. So I think, yeah, I appreciate this conversation and I won't take anybody's time. Thank you.
That always happens. Sorry about that. You wait too long and everybody answers. Just ask your question. But yeah, thanks for coming up. Any comments about opBNB Chain? Excited? Looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm just interested in, not really technical, but I'm still in the learning phase of this kind of blockchain infrastructure. Um, and I guess if I could, as long as I'm here off mute right now. So when we use the phrase L2, does that refer to like we post proofs to the BNB Layer-1 chain? Is that essentially when we use the phrase L2? That's what that refers to, like a roll up to the BNB chain as L1.
Exactly, that's what we are mentioning, basically, where we are offloading, let's say, the computation and the execution of transaction on the layer 2 to make it, let's say, more easy, and then we are just rolling back in a way the result of this transaction or the data of this transaction. So the computational load is not on the L1 itself, but on the L2. So it's an interesting approach on scalability, I assume. It was interesting to see as well, and which is showing as well that at the end an L1 can only do that much. And we should not forget that in decentralized network, there is always some trilemma, as Dao was mentioning before, and we cannot expect the same, let's say, throughput or potential as like Web3 system, because at the end it's not a Web2 system, as Web2, sorry. So it is a Web3. So we do have some trilemma and some challenges. So that's why we need to.
Well, thank you guys.
Thanks, Nick, for coming up. Snow, I see you're up here. Question or comment? Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm excited, because even during Ethereum Denver, I was kind of exploring L2 layers, and like ZK AVM definitely is a great choice. But my question to like here to the space is, did any game developers or any kind of DeFi protocol solution reached out to you to see the opportunity or maybe help them? And the second question is, did you ever plan the hackathon or any kind, of event with rewards for that?
So we definitely worked already with some projects, game and Texas as well, to work on implementing it. So hopefully they will be able to deliver something quickly in testnet. Regarding hackathon or events, it's definitely, I think, in the roadmap. I'm not sure exactly what the team has, but I've heard some rumors as well, some stuff. So hopefully we'll see something out soon. I will try to push them internally to make it happen.
Yeah,
Merci. And check and this like second question was about like gaming developers reaching out or asking for help or having questions.
I would recommend to go to Discord. So we have a lot of people reaching out on Discord with our developer and like community, and each of them is like helping each other to make sure that they're understanding it well. We have a documentation as well, where we show like I think a few tutorial or like how it is been built, how it's working, and what are the few optimization we've done. So I suggest that you are following it as well. I don't know if we have a tweet about it. Maybe we can ping it. I'm not sure though.
I'll look for it, but definitely yes. Follow the BNB Chain account, join the developer Discord. There's tons of resources there if you want to know how to deploy on opBNB. We have one more hand up, and I do want to be respectful of Arno's time, so we'll wrap it up with Pat. Pat, welcome.
Hey, thank you. And I'll keep it short. I just have a quick question. So for the transactions that are on opBNB, will those also take place for the BEP95 real-time burning?
Great question. I need to look into it actually. To be honest, that's a really great question. Let me just try to. I need to look into it, and we'll definitely try to come back to you.
Yeah, that would be awesome, Arno. You could always message me or Pat. Pat, I just followed you, and we'll try to follow up on that. But great question. That's a good question.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was just curious with the bridging, if it was going to keep that process going, which if it did, that would be incredible. Any ways that the deflation aspects of BNB can continue is great for everyone. So, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we like the burn. Great question.
Who doesn't like it?
But yeah, we'll definitely try to get that answer for you, and I'll follow up with you offline. But yeah, I think it's been a great conversation. Again, guys, testnet just went live on Monday. Make sure to check out the pinned tweets for more information. And just to mention again, BNB is the native token. There's no separate token or airdrop. So please be wary of any, things that you're seeing on there. But Arno, any last words? Glad to have you. It was a great conversation. Thanks so much for coming by.
No, thanks. Hope we can do it later as well when we launch the mainnet or any other events. It was really great. Always glad to hear from the community, to get some feedback, and to make sure we can listen to it and actively work towards it as well. Definitely come check out our Discord, Twitter, and forum as well, where we try to work heavily on providing innovation on our L1 as well, such as state expiry or fast finality, which is quite some key topic that we are trying to heavily work on. So definitely come check us out on all of those tools. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Dow, any last comments or questions?
No, I love those space. Different time or a different day. I'm my second cup of coffee, so love this. Hopefully, do those more often.
Everybody enjoy your coffee, your midday coffee. And for those of you going to bed, have a great night. We'll be back tomorrow with Crypto and Coffee at Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Again, thank you to Arno and the BNB Chain team. And yeah, check out opBNB. I'm definitely excited. It looks like there's a lot of community members interested. So looking to forward what the team comes out with.
Just quickly, for Pat, so we're not burning any token on our PBNB. So sorry for that.
It's all right. Thank you. I appreciate the heads up.
Thanks, Arno, for getting back to us on that. But now the community does want to burn, so if there's any way of changing that, that would be great. But thanks for getting back to us. But yeah, everybody have a great day, and I'll catch you guys around the timeline.
Later, guys.